chill out. All right. Hey, Holly.
Hey, Dave.
Welcome.
Welcome to What Difference Does It Make?
Yes. It's been a few days since we last saw each other.
We did. We've had a pretty eventful few days. One in particular.
Yes. We both attended the Pasadena Daydream Festival outside of the Rose Bowl at Brookside Park.
Brookside at the Rose Bowl, they call it.
Okay. Brookside is basically just like a golf course.
It was a pretty good setup, actually.
You liked it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? The Golden Voice knows how to put on a show. It was fairly well organized. I say this because we were smart. We got there early. We got to see most of the bands. There were a number of my friends who went to the show that I learned later, and they were complaining that they had to wait 2 hours to get into the venue. They missed a few of the bands they wanted to see. So we played our cards right.
Yes, we did. We got there early. It didn't take too long to get in. It was a brutally hot day.
Super hot. But we brought our sunscreen.
We did brought our sunscreen.
I brought my refillable water bottle, unlike you.
Yes. You were well prepared.
Yeah. But all right, so let's.
But I brought my listening ears.
You did indeed.
And my viewing eyes. So we did. So we got there. We didn't get there early enough. We heard the last Kaylin Mikla song. They went on first.
From afar, yes.
Yeah, so we heard it from afar, and it sounded great.
There were two stages. So when we went to the show, they released the set times. We saw that there were two stages, and it was basically one band would go on, and then as soon as that band signed off, the next band was going on the other stage. It
was so well executed. They would go on the minute after one band came off the other stage. It was brilliant. And so the secondary stage was called Willow, and the main stage is called the Oaks.
Yes, and they were about 400 yards apart. I mean, it was a golf course. So I have no
Hard
idea.
to tell. You couldn't hear if you were sitting at one stage when the next band went on. If you were, that far away, you could hear them and you knew who it was, but you wouldn't enjoy the music that way.
There wasn't, and there was no bleed through. I mean, because bands weren't playing simultaneously, there was no bleeding of the sound.
Which was great.
Yeah, so that worked out well. So we kind of planned out our strategy because we're like, okay, so the big font bands are playing at the Oaks. That was the big stage.
Except for Throwing Muses, which was in order to let the Cure be ready for.
Oh, you're going back
set.
to, yeah. Well, of course. I mean, everyone was there for the Cure.
Yeah, but I'm saying Throwing Muses is one of the bigger, I think was one of the bigger font bands.
Okay.
Weren't
They're
they?
still, I don't know. I still put them in their, in the indie tent.
Okay.
I like the indie tent in that, I mean, this was a great strategy for us, or for most people. I mean, they tried to make that indie tent as desirable as possible by actually making it a tent. Over at the Oaks, there's no tent. It was hot. There were long lines for beer and for anything else over on the Oak side. But, if you wanted to see Deftones and Mogwai and Pixies, and Twilight Sad, I think, was the first band to play there.
Was on the main stage.
Yeah. So if you want to see those bands, which most people, I would say probably 80, 85% of the people at this show would have preferred to see them. And so they made that, okay, this is going to be the big stage.
And it was standing in the front in the front section, and then you could sit. Then there was a separation, and then you could sit in the back section.
Yeah,
which is where we ended up because
we wanted to see the smaller bands. But it was I mean, a lot of people arrived, the doors opened at 1, and a lot of people just went straight to the main stage and just stayed there for the whole that to see all those main bands.
And if you wanted to be in front for the Cure and didn't even care about the other main bands, you were there from 2:00 in the afternoon.
From 1:00, basically, when the doors opened. So I mean that's a strategy, but it was. I think actually after doing our podcast, we're like, well, I kind of want to see these other bands. These are kind of interesting bands. These are newer bands. It was the 90s, 80s, 90s bands on the main stage, and then these newer bands that are just maybe have like tops 10 years, I think. But it made it great because we got close. We were able to be close to these bands.
Yeah, it was the best possible way to see them. It was great. I mean, we were close. They had a great reception, I thought. When you turned around, we were probably, we were under the tent.
Yeah.
But if you look behind us, there was a pretty nice crowd.
Oh, it was a great crowd. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. How many people do you think total were at these shows? it could have been like 60,000 people, maybe.
I don't know if it was that many. It was big. It was big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And long. Yeah. Still
It
long.
It was a long day, but worth it.
Yes. I think most of the complaints were the beer lines were way too long. Yeah. Although when we were watching The Cure, there was no line for the beer. We could have
walked right over there if we wanted to take it.
Could have spent more on $13 beers.
Or a $13 cocktail.
Or I'd rather spend it for a $5 donut,
which was very good.
It was a very good donut. Shout out to Donut Friend.
From Donut Friend. Thank you for turning me on to that place.
Oh, of course. And the merch table was even. I wanted to get something. I would have liked a bucket hat or something to protect my head, but the line was way too long.
That's kind of a bummer because I would have bought something, just to symbolize the day.
I'm sure we could still buy something. There might be something online.
There was no way that we were going to stand in that line.
No, why?
And it only got longer.
Yeah, never dissipated. It was forever long. But that was the only bummer of the show. I think, it was exciting to see these artists. And as you posted on Instagram, there's a lot of women-fronted bands.
Yeah.
Strong women doing these intense songs that Robert Smith loves.
I got to say, and as I said, I don't even have to say it again, but I'm going to. You can easily see, especially now seeing them live, how he ended up choosing these bands. But I got to say, of the smaller indie bands, the Joy Formidable, they were awesome. Mm-hmm. They had the greatest energy. The drummer was hilarious. He was so animated, and I liked the setup. Yeah,
they had the drums set up in front because he was kind of like another guitarist.
Yeah.
So so they pushed him up front and kind of turned the drums to the side.
Mm-hmm. And he had a gong, which we loved.
And as soon as I saw the gong, I'm like, oh, I am all in. This is good. Yes. This is going to be good stuff.
And her energy was really great. Her voice, I loved everything about them.
Yeah. So that was your surprise of the day. Like your band, like, oh, I like this. This is a band I would like.
I will continue to listen to them.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, The Cure was.
Well, yeah. All right. So
take The Cure out of the mix.
First, we're still talking about the smaller bands.
Yeah. No,
I understand you like The Cure.
Have I ever told you that?
No, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, but whatever. If you're into The Cure, that's fine.
Yeah. No, they were.
But yeah, of all those small bands, although I'm still thinking of the Emma Ruth Rundle song, "Lights Out." Mm-hmm. That's the song. It's been running through my head this past weekend.
Then there is a song running through your head of one of the smaller bands.
Yeah. I like
them. That's a good sign.
Yeah, so I like them a lot. Chelsea Wolfe was great. I was actually disappointed that she didn't play anything from the new album that's coming out soon.
Yeah.
I looked at all the set lists. I mean, they played maybe 5-6 songs tops.
They were half hour.
These bands. Yeah, half-hour set. So it wasn't a lot of time to kind of build up a rapport with the fans. You had to kind of get in there, do your thing, and then leave immediately.
Yeah, which is good for the audience, but you do like to build that.
Yeah, it's tough for a band, but still, you got a captive audience. It was nice that these artists were taking advantage of this great situation. They got blessed by Robert Smith.
Yeah.
I so decree.
Anointed.
You were anointed by Robert Smith. So that was wonderful that they got this exposure and they were able to get some new fans.
Yeah.
Joy Formidable.
Yay!
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I mean, it was good, especially just knowing their backstory because we did the podcast. We're like, oh yeah, these two. It's a trio. The singer and the bassist were a couple, and they were childhood friends. They were a couple, then they split up. Like, all right, what's the dynamic there? But it was great. It was a lot of fun just to see them on stage. And,
didn't seem to have any impact on their playing.
Yeah,
show.
Very personable.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a good time to take a break. Let's stop it and we'll continue our discussion of the Pasadena Daydream Festival. So after we saw the Joy Formidable, we kicked it over to the other side.
To the Pixies.
Was it? Yeah. Because so we missed, when we first got to this day there, as you touched on, Kayla Mikla had just finished. So we went to the far end just to figure out the lay of the land. And the Twilight Sad were playing. And so we're like, oh, okay, got that situation down. Like figured out, okay, I think the tent is where it's shady is going to be better. And we would have been too far back. I think to kind of get the feel for the Twilight Sad, it was kind of tough.
You needed to be closer.
For sure.
They were more of they could have been playing the Willow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although they have that big sound. They've opened up for the Foo Fighters. They know kind of what to do with a big crowd.
They do, but to draw people in who may not have, I don't know,
True.
may not have been familiar. I would have liked to have seen them.
True. That would have been good to see them there. Yeah, so we missed Mogwai, and we missed the Deftones.
Yeah, we could hear them.
You could hear them,
bit.
Yes. Plus you have to go eat, too, so we had to figure out all that stuff.
Yeah, Trejo's Tacos.
Yes. I had a grilled cheese and bacon sandwich. That's where
and
I was
tater
at.
Tots.
And tater tots. Because I am 5.
And now Dave's a little clogged. His arteries are a little clogged.
Yeah. Happy arteries.
He washed it down with a beer.
Oh, exactly. Like my doctor recommends. So, so then after we saw Joy Formidable, we moved it on and, got our donuts and whatnot. We moved it on to...
and cocktail.
Moved it on to the main stage, and that's when we saw the Pixies.
Who I thought were great. Really fun. We were far back. I would have liked to have been closer, but we were...
right.
We were comfortable.
By that time, I mean, you kind of accept, like, okay, we've made a choice.
Yes.
We're not going to push our way to the front. We'll just chill in the back.
Yeah.
Like all the cool kids do.
Yeah. Well...
Yes. All the cool kids were in the back.
Speaking of cool kids, I'm going to make an old person comment.
Okay.
Hey, you know that I am we know this. I'm a huge Cure fan. I used to dress the part, back in the day. I wore a lot of black, People were dressed in this, in this heat. It was close to 100 degrees. It was in the 90s for sure.
I understand. Yeah, if I was a certain personality type, I would commit to dressing up like Robert Smith.
Like I said, this is probably because of my age. I couldn't wear a lick of black because the heat was killer. But people were wearing the boots and the tights and the black. I saw a couple of black jackets.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of black.
Yeah, especially when it was hitting probably nearing 100 degrees at around 4 o'clock.
Yeah. So, but that's okay. So, we made the...
Did you take pictures? Yeah. You took a few photos.
I took some pictures. I did. I'll post.
Yes, make sure you post.
I absolutely will. We did. We sacrificed. That was, as Dave said, a conscious decision. We sacrificed in order to see some of the smaller font bands.
But it was a good sacrifice because we found a stray chair.
Yes, we did.
So instead of schlepping a chair all over the place and moving it around...
Which Dave did not allow. Dave put the kibosh on the chair, on me bringing a chair.
Yeah. No one wants to carry a chair. You don't want to burden yourself with something extra.
So lo and behold, we get there. We get to the main stage. We're waiting for the Cure, and there is just an empty chair sitting there. Yeah. An empty chair. And Dave says, "Here, sit in this chair." And I said, "No, that's somebody's chair. I'm not sitting in somebody's chair." "Well, if they come, they'll you can get up." So finally he talked me into it. The chair owner never came back. Got to sit in the chair the whole time. Dave was very kind and chivalrous and let me sit in the chair the entire time.
Perfect. Yeah. So it was nice. I mean, just kind of laying on the grass and soaking up all the Cure air. It was great. For the first time seeing the Cure, I'd never seen the band before. That was like a great set. I mean, I don't know any songs that, aside from like some like deep cuts that I needed to hear. It was nice to hear like these are all songs that you probably all know. And I think I knew like 95% of the stuff.
You did. Was there any, I mean, and they have it's when you're at a show like this that you realize their catalog is way bigger than you've even, we know their catalog is huge, but hearing the songs, they could play songs that that even not the most hardcore fan would still know most of those songs.
Right. Yeah. It was, I think it was a pretty perfect set. I had noticed, I didn't look too deep into other sets that he's done, but it was he had played some festival I think it was in Europe like a week ago, and it was the same set. So I think it's like, okay, this is a good set.
Works.
This set works, and it does. I mean, because I think as I saw when he played Australia, when they were doing the Disintegration celebration, going through that whole album, playing the whole album through, he started off the show by playing B-sides and songs that weren't recorded, and just kind of like, that was like the first half hour, 45 minutes of the show. So that would have been kind of tough to sit through, I think.
Well, not so much for me, but maybe for you.
Yeah, for a lot of the audience too.
Yeah.
But this was nice because I mean, he played, it was like maybe, I looked at it was, I think like 7 songs from Disintegration. Mm-hmm. So of course I know that album intimately, and it was great to hear all those songs.
I thought it was a really well curated set.
For sure.
Yeah, and it was he played almost 2 hours, just shy of 2 hours.
No, over 2 hours. It went on at 8:40. He ended up it ended at 11.
I thought it ended at 10:30.
No, ended at 11. Yeah, 10:30 was the encore.
And then he came back. He's like, okay, all right, we got a half hour of hits to play. He literally said that. We have half hour, and he did. Yeah, and he did play Friday I'm in Love, which he always says he doesn't love playing.
Oh, is that right? But, I didn't know he didn't.
With some of the bigger, he knows that fans love it. And I thought he did great with it. I thought it was a really fun version of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was all fun. He sounded great.
He is phenomenal. I can't say enough about it, of course. I'll gush all the time over him. But I told you when I saw him at the Hollywood Bowl a couple of years ago that his voice sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And the band sounds great. The band rocked.
Yeah.
On Saturday night.
Yeah, band is great.
Yeah.
They really bring those songs alive, especially, I mean, because you need to do that. It's just drawing out these songs, and there's like these huge instrumental breaks.
The long intros.
Just long intros. I just love it. And then when Robert Smith comes in, I mean, that's one of the reasons I love The Cure. Yeah. Just the way they draw that all out. The audience was into it, of course.
People were dancing.
People were dancing.
Including you, of which we have footage.
Oh, great. You have destroyed that. But yeah, it was fun. And I as I had mentioned, he could have easily have played a few, done like, 2 nights at Staples, 2 or 3 nights at Staples, and just had 1 or 2 opening acts. And that would have been it, and it would have been fine. But the way this was done was really nice. It was, you get introduced to, there were 9 other bands.
Yeah, it was special. It was really
it was really a very special event. So I'm glad it happened. I'm glad we got through it alive, and we got out. We were home within an hour. We were so panicked about how the Rose Bowl was going to go.
It was so efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was great.
It was a fun show. I'm really glad we went, even with the brutal heat.
Yeah. Despite the brutal heat, we survived. And maybe there'll be a Daydream Festival next year.
I would be so curious to know who will curate.
Yeah, maybe they'll have someone. It'll be like a Meltdown Festival. Who knows what they're going to do?
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
All right, we have a date every Labor Day weekend.
Hopefully. We'll see.
Okay.
That'd be great. All right, so let's wrap this up.
Thanks for listening to our wrap-up of the Pasadena Daydream Festival.
Until next week, this is Dave.
This is Holly.
Check you later.
Over and out.